You've been in the hell. You've been in the fire. You've tasted corruption. Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels.
What's up, hackers? Welcome to Attack on Tuesday. My name is Taggart. I hope that everybody's staying safe in the, end times here, in the heat apocalypse that the European continent is facing right now. We're doing okay here in Los Angeles. It's not too crazy hot. I mean, I'm a little toasty, but that's always true this time of year. So, tonight, we are going to be taking on some Active Directory. This was the plan last week, and then some technical difficulties got in the way. Hopefully that will not happen this time. Hey, Frackery, good to see you. So, we have... TryHackMe has put together a number of new Active Directory boxes, and I want to go after all of them, because I think, I'm a web app guy most of the time, and I think that a review of Active Directory fundamentals is valuable, both for attackers and defenders, so we're going to take these on and see how we do. Probably learn some new stuff and review some important information. Now, these rooms work a little bit like the Wreath or Hollow networks, if you're familiar with those on TryHackMe, which means they have a specific network that you connect to. You have to go get that from your network access right here. You got to go download the breaching AD or whatever OpenVPN file and run that. Then there's another part that was messing with me a little bit. In order to participate in these rooms, you have to configure your DNS to do so correctly. I had some trouble doing that, and what eventually got me over that hill was not using, if you're using Kali Linux, not using the built-in connection editor. For whatever reason, on Hyper-V, I can't edit this, right? It's root permission locked, and I cannot do that. I actually don't think that's a Hyper-V thing. I think that's a Paulkit thing. So the way that I got around that was my old friend NMTUI, which is the Network Manager Terminal User Interface. And I love this thing. And I have used it for so many sysadmin type use cases in my career. And so from here, now this thing is running as root. So if I edit a connection, I'll have full powers to do so. And I'll just go over to edit here and then go over to IPv4 configuration for my wired connection. And right there, that is what I needed to change. I had to add this DNS server as an additional DNS server. That is the domain controller for this network. And that's going to give me all the host names that I need for the network, and just hit OK. Everything is good. I'm going to escape out and not save anything. But once that was done, then you would just have to do sudo systemctl restart network manager to apply those settings, and you are good to go. To confirm that that's working, I am connected to the VPN. Let's try the nslookup thmdc.za.tryhackme.com, and that's resolving. Hooray. Yeah, I know, Killer, you are a huge help with that. Really appreciate that. So we're ready to go. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out, Red Ace. If you're interested, we have the VODs, but of course we also cross-stream to YouTube. So let's see what we have up first here in OSINT phishing. Two popular methods for gaining access to that first set of AT credentials is open source intelligence, yeah, and phishing. Also, yes. And I should mention that now we have yet another tool in the Active Directory credentials toolbox, which is malicious Chrome extension. So let's say you were able to implant something onto a machine, but you don't have the AD creds. You just have a presence on the machine, but you don't know the user's password, which can happen. One way that you can get those credentials is with malicious Chrome extensions, which is a little bit of research that I've been doing recently. And let's check that out. So will this resolve? Yeah, there we go. Take your time, Callie. This VPN does not want to go. Right, Chrome extensions for post-exploitation. Just FYI, because we're talking about initial entry, this can be a really powerful way to make this happen. If you haven't seen this, we'll do a quick demo of it. It doesn't take that long to demo this thing. I put together a tool called Crux. And what Crux does is there's a Chrome extension and a listening server, and what it does is it listens for data coming back from this Chrome extension. The way that you get this Chrome extension loaded, I mean, there are multiple different ways you can do it, but the easiest way, once you have any kind of code execution on a machine, is to launch a browser, a Chromium browser. It doesn't even have to be Chrome. Any browser that is Chromium based, this will work on. So that includes Microsoft Edge. So the way that the malware authors do it is that they look for every instance of that process and they kill it first, and then they reopen, restoring the saved session with this new extension. So it's like the browser just restarted for whatever reason. And I've seen crazy successes with this, right? Okay, so with Crux, then once you have this thing, you upload the extension folder to your target, and then once that's done, you're going to do a listening server here. Just get the latest version going here. Okay, so I'm going to fire up my listening server right here. And in fact, yeah, let's do this. We'll do Flask run, port 8000. Oh, I forgot I made this cooler since the last time I ran it. So 2 dependencies, the Flask library and the Rich library. All right, so this thing is running. And then all I'm going to do is over on the Windows side, I'm going to go ahead and run. I'll run Edge, okay? And then I'm going to use this load extension. And Defenders, this is what you want to be searching for. You want to make sure that you have some kind of query that's looking for this happening in the environment. Because unless you have people who are developing Chrome extensions, this should basically never happen. But it is a command line option for Chromium browsers. And I'm going to pass it my Crux extension folder. Once I do that, Edge opens up. Everything's going okay. And let's go ahead and visit a thing. Let's go to latimes.com. Of course, watch it not work now. Localhost. Yeah, that should be good. Ooh, that did not load. That's interesting. Did I do something stupid? Ooh. I did. All right, one more time. Oh, that's funny. Did Edge deploy protections against this? That would be hilarious if true. This was working yesterday. All right, one second. Do I have Chrome on here? Ironically, I don't even have the Google Chrome browser on here. That's so crazy. Cruxing it up. Yeah, trying to demo it, although it's being weirdly difficult. If I load unpacked, we should see it work. Although, we shouldn't have to. Yeah, there it goes. I really don't know why Edge was giving me trouble loading that. It was working every other time I gave it a shot. But as you can see, if we visit a place, we get data coming in. And this is why this is so cool. So imagine we're in a single sign-on environment. Let me log out here. Log in. So in a single sign-on environment, if I'm using Okta or whatever else that's tied to Active Directory, if somebody enters that password into a browser, this is a great way to get that information quickly because Crux is going to pick it up, and also because it's looking for anything that has password, session, or token in it to highlight, just to make it a little bit more user-friendly for you, it will pick that up. So that'll report home to any server that you want. That is Crux. I think that might just be an edge weirdness why that wasn't working, because I was using it at work today. Like it should be fine. You all can test that out on your own and see if you have any different results. An edge case of wheel. Ah, thanks, Ginge. Nice one. Okay, so log rolling over. Let's get back into actually working with Active Directory. Right, so OSINT and phishing. I understand OSINT and how it can be used to breach Active Directory. I understand phishing and how it can be used to breach AD. I've done that training. What popular website can be used to verify if your email address or password has ever been exposed in a publicly disclosed data breach? Chat? Correct. Have I been pwned? Which your organization should just be looking at, or have services that do. Wooden K. Hey, one of your streams is part of making a vulnerable machine. Oh, thanks, Wooden. I'd love to see the machine. That's exciting. Okay, moving on to NTLM Authenticated Services. New Technology LAN Manager. What a catchy name. Is the suite of security protocols used to authenticate users' identities in AD. NTLM can be used for authentication by the following stuff. Internally hosted Exchange mail servers that exposed an OA, login portal, RDP, of course, VPN stuff, all sorts of cool stuff. Now this here, the distinction between NTLM and net NTLM actually pretty important in terms when we get to things like passing the hash and what you can pass the hash with. Spoiler, not this. It's one of the new ones on Hack the Box. Ooh, perhaps I shall. And then brute force login attacks. Alien! Yes, this video is being recorded. It's both being recorded to Twitch for the VOD and also to YouTube forever. Right. So, this one has task files. I wonder why. Password spray.zip. Ah, they're being cool and giving us a word list. All right, let's check that out. There we go. Let's unzip password sprayer.zip. Okay, they even give us the exploit. That's cool of them too. The NTLM password spray.py and then the usernames.txt. Handy. Let's take a look though. Let me zoom that in. Let's take a look at the NTLM password spray.py to see what it's doing. So it is using from request NTLM import HTTP NTLM auth. We may have to add request NTLM, but this is a library that is designed to make requests of NTLM services. So what does password load users? For line and line, self.users.append, line.replace, new line. Okay, that's not the cleanest way to do that, but that's fine. Password spray for user and self.users, response equals request.get. Okay, so this part is kind of interesting. What you're seeing happen here, and this is something that you'll see very often inside of Active Directory networks, in the, I'm going to use a really old term, intranet, is that the authentication is being handled, yes, by what's called HTTP basic authentication, kind of, except that it is being handled really by Windows NTLM authentication. So basically your web browser is kind of kicking it over to Windows to say, hey, give me your Windows creds. Yep, exactly, HTTP auth using NTLM. So, and you know what basic auth looks like if you've ever seen just that like lame browser pop-up asking for a username or password. You might have seen it on like an IoT device or just an old web app or something like that. But in Windows, a couple of interesting things happen with that. So one, yes, it's going to kick it over to Windows for NTLM authentication. That can mean that, first of all, your operating system will very often just give away your NTLM hash to the server. And that is one way in which tools like Responder can take advantage of NTLM authentication in a network, is listening for those over HTTP and other services. But it looks like they're giving us a web app here that is using that kind of authentication. So let's take a look at that. They give us a link here to ntlmauth.za.tryhackme.com. And in fact, it really wouldn't be this kind of... It wouldn't be one of my streams if we didn't open up Zap. Right? So let's open up Zap, and we'll load this app into a proxied Zap browser session and see what's going on, just so you can get familiar with what that authentication or authorization header looks like. Zap gang, where you at? Yeah, what's up, Orbital? H&OP, thank you for the follow. All right. So we've got Zap up and running. Let's go ahead and get the pen test profile going. We don't need Vappy anymore. Oh my god, is that still up? Do I have a Docker container running that I don't need? No. Okay, that was just cached. Something about blindly trusting things goes against the CIA triad. Yeah, it's pretty funky. Open link as pen test. Ah, there it is. So you saw that pop-up happen briefly, and then it went away, and we get a 401. Let's take a look at that in Zap just to see what happened. Okay. It says unauthorized, right? www authenticate NTLM. That's how you know that it's asking for that kind of authentication. We don't have it. So that is why we cannot provide that, really, without some hackery. And so, yeah, I don't even think you can do it through Zap, right? Yeah. Oh, no, you can do HTTP NTLM authentication. So you can make it happen here. But it's a little bit funky to do it. So you can set up NTLM authentication through Zap, but this script that they've given us is going to do it as well. So user file, FQDN, password, and attack URL. Right, Hydra can also brute force NTLM auth. That's a good tool to use. As a matter of fact, so what did they give us? They gave us usernames.txt. But what password list do they want us to use? Any? Let's find out. Firefox's Windows authentication plugin is incredibly prone to failure. No, we don't want to do that. There's the pop-up again. Right. Do test and test. And then we'll get the fail. Let's see what that looks like. So check this out. Let's open that up in the resend request editor. Here you can see, this is what I wanted to show you. When it's NTLM authentication, this is what you get. Authorization, and then NTLM. And then after that, what do we have? We have base 64 encoded data. Well, what is that? After that is going to be garbage, mostly, because it's encoded NTLM data. So you can't just read that straight the way that you could with a normal authorization header. Okay. As Killer said, we can use Hydra. However, it is often better to script up these types of attacks, which allows you more control of the process. That relies on you having the capability of scripting. And while I absolutely believe that every security professional should endeavor to get some programming under their belt, it is not a requisite. It is not absolutely necessary. You can do quite a bit without learning how to program. I think that it should be on everybody's to-do list, but I also think it should be on everybody's to-do list, like on planet Earth in 2022. I actually think that computational literacy is something that is going to help our society moving forward. Like, I think that every school should be teaching it, right, to every student, but that's another conversation. All right. So, password string script using text files provided under the root rooms directory. Oh. Oh, that's hilarious. So we're going to do as long as it's not Java. No, absolutely not. So the password we want for our spraying attack is change me123. So I see. We're doing a single password, and we're going to use the usernames.text. It's a VBA. Hey, Visual Basic was technically... Well, no, Basic was my first programming language. But Visual Basic is what I did in high school. All right, so this little tool here, we're going to do user is usernames.txt. Amanda Joy Marshall, thank you so much for the follow, Amanda. You're very welcome. Yeah, this is one of those that I always, like, it's kind of hard to keep straight, like credential stuffing versus password spraying. So let's put it to bed. Okay, according to spycloud.com, which was the second result I found, credential stuffing is very popular, blah, blah, blah. Credential stuffing is a type of brute force attack that relies on automated tools to test large volumes of stolen usernames and passwords across multiple sites. So credential stuffing is many sites, whereas password spraying is using... See, this is wrong too. Saying many accounts with a few passwords. And that's what I think of when I think of password spraying. That is true. All right, so usernames, the F for the FQDN is za.tryhackme.com. And the reason we are doing that is because that's going to inform the NTLM creation, right? And the attack URL here is like this. What? Wait, Husky, happy anniversary. I got you this stream, and you got us an amazing new bit of kit. Husky was putting in the work today, and took a look at CVE 2022-33891 and gave us a nice proof of concept, remote code execution. So everyone should check that out. And if you haven't checked out Husky's blog post on MSIs for fun and profit, you should absolutely do that as well. Yeah, this is really cool. And it was neat to see the development process as well. Very, very cool. All right. Let's attack this thing. What did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot the password. So they want us to use change me 123. I can do that. That's really slow. We'll try to do it with Hydra too. They couldn't even... Gordon Stevens, password change me 123. So we found legitimate creds. So let's go ahead and add those. Gordon.Stevens. Change me 123. And we have accessed whatever this is. What is the name of the challenge response authentication mechanism? Was it net NTLM? Yeah. What is the username of the third valid credential pair? The third valid credential pair found by the password spraying script. 1, 2. Oh, it was Gordon Stevens. How many valid credential pairs were found by the password spraying script? This is a useless question. The answer is 4. Yeah. This is like bad book report questions. I'm going to date myself a little bit. I don't know how many... Yeah, yeah, you're right, Killer. I will say that if I'm going to do something like this, I'm going to do something like org name 1 or org name year and maybe toss a 1 or an exclamation point at the end of that, and I'll get huge hits with that. Right? You got to make it to 8 characters, but after that, you can be pretty low effort given sufficiently large user base. What is the message displayed by the web application when authenticating with a valid credential pair? Hello world. Okay. Let's give that a try with Hydra just to show it. So we're going to do Hydra. The login file is going to be usernames.txt, and the password file is going to password's going to be change me 123. And was NTLM and NTLM auth .za.tryhackme.com. Oh, unknown service. Let's try it again. HTTP get into. Hey, was it Windows or something? HTTP auth. Let's find out. Boy, this VPN is like molasses. Google Groups. If somebody makes a new version of Hydra that is a terminal syntax and put you for a Nobel Prize. Bonus points if it rusts. Well, now we gotta do it, Husky. Why'd you have to go and say that? This is unhelpful. This is also from 2012. All right, seclist.org might have a little bit more information. Oh my god. Oh yeah, no, the Hydra syntax is unbelievable. Like, I know you can do it on SMB and call it Basilisk. It's true. There are, or Medusa. There are a lot of Gorgons to choose from. All right, take care, Kieran. Hope you get some sleep. Use a damp towel to wipe down your forearms and your shins before you go to bed. When I last visited Montreal, which is one of my favorite places on Earth, I was visiting during an historic heat wave, and so it was like 100 degrees in a place that doesn't know what to do with any kind of heat or humidity, and that was the only way I was able to survive. All right, we'll leave Hydra alone for now. Unfortunately, because you would have to do the manual NTLM changeover, the Zap Fuzzer is not going to be super helpful for that one either. All right. Now, LDAP Bind. Now, this is going to be interesting because I'm hoping that we can do this in a much smarter way than what they have written here. First thing we're going to try is forget this noise. So there's printer. I don't even know if this is an LDAP downgraded attack. Maybe it is. Let's see. So LDAP is what Active Directory is based on. It is the Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, and it is open source. Active Directory is not the only LDAP solution that exists in the universe. If you really want to experience profound levels of anguish and torment, you can run an open LDAP server yourself and try to maintain a set of usernames and passwords and accounts for an environment using just that, paying no money to Microsoft whatsoever. However, what the money that you would have paid to Microsoft, you will pay in life force from yourself. You will age, right, at about a 10 times rate for every month that you're running Open LDAP instead of letting Microsoft handle most of that. Yes, I will also pay the money. I did it for too long, and I will say there used to be a pretty reasonable alternative. Back in the good old days, 2011 was like when this started to go south. Back when macOS was good, Snow Leopard, Apple server, back when they used to make servers, had a solution called Open Directory, which was LDAP under the hood, and it was designed to sort of work like Active Directory. And that thing was actually a joy to administer. It was really easy. It worked very well. And it allowed network logons for Apple devices. You could tie other stuff into it as well. But Open Directory is kind of dead. No, it's not. It's extremely dead, not kind of dead. And so Active Directory is the last game in town. Anyway, a little bit of history on LDAP for you. Okay, chat quiz. What are the common ports that LDAP uses in an Active Directory environment? These are ones you should have at your fingertips, just so you don't have to look them up when you see them. .389 and 636 is correct. 389 for unencrypted and 636 for TLS encrypted. If you could gain a foothold on the correct host, such as GitList or LDAP passback. One of the very interesting attacks can be performed against LDAP authentication mechanisms called an LDAP passback attack. 8675309. Oh, you're on fire tonight, Ginge. This is a common attack against network devices such as printers when you've gained initial access to the internal network, such as plugging a rogue device in a boardroom. Or just phishing. I wonder what percentage of attacks really, even with physicals, are drop boxes anymore. the fact that I didn't know anything like this a year ago is such a really killer. You're doing great. Yeah. You're absolutely crushing it. Okay. LDAP passback can be performed when we gain access to a device's configuration where the LDAP parameters are specified. That's boo. Basically, it just means reading credentials. Right? So let's go to this here. I'm going to load that in pen test. SVC LDAP. You love to see it. Okay. And we do test settings. Not going to be that easy. So sometimes it is. Did we lose the connection? That's still good. Hey, Sar. Right. We'll just provide the listener. Did it die on us though? Yeah. Should be good. I don't think the network is down. These networks. Okay, so the printer's down. While we're waiting for the printer to come back up, which I hope it does, the next thing that I want to do is see if we can connect, and this is something that oh, it is up. Okay. Printer.za. Look at this Ruby on Rails. Not system. Settings. Okay, lovely. So here, let's try this one more time. And yes, we're going to listen. Sudo nc and VLP. We're going to listen on 389. Hey, chat, why do I have to use sudo for this netcat invocation? Okay, well, sorry, it is a port under 10,000. Which means what? You're not wrong, I just want more detail. There are many reserved ports. But yes, they are protected. Okay. Object class 0 supported capabilities. Did we get any data? Right. We want to get slapd in order to read this thing. And they're going to tell us to apt install it, and I'm going to tell you to not do that. Instead, let's go get it from Docker so that we don't have to mess with our host system too much. Man, I really should have modified the OpenVPN file so that it was a split tunnel. Because this is rough. Updated 4 years ago. Yikes. Yeah, but what is... No, that's not really what I want to do. Oh, fine. All right. We're going to kill the listener there. Also believe Responder can do a rogue... Oh, you're totally right, Husky. Yeah, Responder can do a rogue LDAP server. Let's just do that. Yeah, no. You're absolutely right. But I do, before we do that, I want to try JExplorer. I'll install that with apt JExplorer because it's fun to do it when it works. God, this yeah, this connection is difficult. It can, but this needs to downgrade it. Does it? Why is that true? Essentially, before the printer sends, it tries to negotiate LDAP authentication method details. It will use this negotiation to select the most secure authentication method that both the printer and the LDAP server support. If the authentication method is too secure, the credentials will not be transmitted in clear text. Right. With some authentication methods, credentials won't be transmitted. So we can't just use normal netcat. Oh, God. Yeah, they're actually using Open LDAP for this. That's a little much. I want to try it with responders, see if we can do it. But also, JExplorer is a really cool tool to have in your bag. This is just kind of like a manual LDAP explorer. So what we're going to try to connect to here is the domain controller, 10.200.55.101. We also have, of course, it's the dc.za.tryhackme.com. So if we try that, it's going to be dc.za.tryhackme.com, right? No, it's THMDC, I think. So we'll just change that up. THMDC, we're 389. We'll try it anonymous and see what we get. No dice. Yeah, that's right. THMDC. But we know that we found... Right, let's try like Holly Powell. And change me 123. We'll try this. All right, so user and password. Change me 123. Did not like that. No dice there either. So this is like a proper Active Directory server. It's not going to let us play ball. That being said, always worth giving it a shot. You'll be surprised at what does speak LDAP, and will let you just read usernames from it. Even doing a showdown search for port 389 can reveal some pretty interesting stuff. All right. So they want us to do this. Oh, no. We're going to do responder. We're going to see if responder works. Sudo responder I 0? Or is it just ETH0? Try it on ETH0. And is it ton 0? Thanks. Yeah, LDAP server on. Okay. All right. So we're going to try that again. There it is. Yeah, so responder was definitely the easier way to do that rather than setting up open LDAP. Maybe. So what we got ourselves was a hash. Hey, it handles. So we got ourselves a hash. No, it'll say... It's in clear text. All right, let's try it a slightly different way. So we got this hash, right? So we're going to grab that. And what can we do with that? We can try to crack it, right? You bet. Spoiler, it won't work. Why not, killer? Look at how many characters the password once. Ah. Interesting. I see. So we cannot crack it. Fair enough. That would be something you'd want to try, though. Can we get responder LDAP text? What two authentication methods do we allow on our rogue LDAP server to downgrade the authentication and make it clear text? So, plain and login. And we make responder do that. I would very much like it if we could. In order... option on Vista. The server supports... NTLM SSP hashes the simple authentication. So... I bet you there's something in the responder configuration that we can set up. Seriously, no one knows how to make this happen? Here we go. No. NTLM is simple authentication. Okay, hold on a second. Responder, simple authentication. Off. Let's try that. Yes! You know what? I should have included LDAP. Yes! No, that's TLDP. I don't need that. Okay, dash B. So if we do dash B, we try the same thing again. It says skipping previously captured hash. How do we clear that? V for verbose. Okay. Yeah, you can tell that I don't have to do this that often. Even though it's in basic, it's still giving us the hash rather than the password. Unfortunately. All right. We'll follow the instructions. We didn't pass the hash yet, hate handles, because we were trying to... The way this is talking to us, it's... theoretically, we should be able to set up an open LDAP server to do this for us. God. I'm wondering if there's... I'm looking at the setup right here. You need to read the whole thing. I read. The answer here is plain and login. Now, can we make it... Hey, Threat Hunter, the password's too big. We're not going to be able to crack it. That's true. It should be 5600. But we're going to try LM. See if this does any different. Is it -- LM? Yeah. Yeah, so we got the LM password, which is different, right? Now, given sufficient compute power, we actually could maybe crack that. So we're able to get it to talk LM rather than NTLM. I don't know if it has the right options that we would need for this. Which is fine. Okay, so what do they want us to do? Yep, we'll do it the long way. But because this thing is going to be such a huge pain, I am, in fact, going to do it in a Docker container. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do Docker container run, name slapd, and we're going to forward port 389 to port 389 on this thing. And that's it. Ubuntu. Oh, not quite. IT. So, I'm putting this in a Docker container mainly for cleanliness purposes. Sudo apt update. And I really want people to understand that apt-get isn't a thing anymore. It's supposed to just be apt. Sudo's not found? Oh, right, because why would I need sudo? I'm already root. Which is fine. Command takes no arguments. Apt update end. There we go. All right. Now we're cooking. So the idea here is that we're doing this all in a Docker container to not mess with the host box. And I think this is a pretty much good practice whenever you can do it. Especially for these like spin up services that you don't really want to last beyond the specific use case. And God knows that's true here. And let's see, systemctl enable slapT. Why bother? You know, it's been a minute since I've done a Docker intro, and maybe that's another thing that I can do again. Please enter the password for the admin entry in your LDAP directory. Password 123. Yeah, I mean, I use Kali for a couple reasons. One, it's you know, lowest common denominator. Everyone is familiar with it in this realm, so kind of like for like. I certainly could build out my own attack box if I wanted to, but this is just easier. Honestly, I have plenty of scripts that get things set up the way that I like with my terminal, tmux, vim, brave, zap, all that stuff. And as a matter of fact, you can see how some of that goes and check it out in the PWST course if you haven't yet. Okay. And let's see. UG reconfigure p low slapd. No. The domain name is going to be za.tryhackme.com as we're and set the administrator password. Yes, provide any password. Yes, I'm fine with that. The old database, yes. Okay. And then this is just text. So we're gonna vim this, I guess. I refuse to work in a Docker container without vim. I don't care if it's 13 megabytes. So I don't love that it's like... I have this rule about extraneous load in instruction. Killer, get out of here. I hate the here dot, or no, it's not even here dot, or the here doc, syntax. This is new lines and everything. I'm not doing that. I have a text editor for a reason. I don't have to stay on the command line. Hey, Oreo Bite, good to see you. Thank you so much for the resub. And Threat Hunter and Bishdot, Claudio, appreciate those follows. Yeah, so I have this rule about extraneous load where if your challenge is not, it has VI, but VI is going to get weird. So I usually install Vim just to remove all doubt. Right. Sorry, I'm going to finish this point about extraneous load. So in cognitive load theory and instruction, there's this idea of extraneous load, intrinsic load, and germane load. Extraneous, let's start with intrinsic. So intrinsic load is the load of, like, the inherent intellectual difficulty of the material at hand, whatever that is. You can't get around it. That's the thing. The germane load is the work that you have to do to learn it and work with that material. The extraneous load is all of the nonsense that is going on in order for you to get at the core of that material. So this happens a lot in these lab environments where there is so much runaround and setup and alternative junk that you have to do in order to get to the nut of the instructional material, the wisdom, the knowledge that you're seeking. And I understand that it's important to understand about open LDAP, right? Maybe. But the amount of junk that we're doing here that isn't about Active Directory and understanding breaching Active Directory is, in my opinion, too high. We have bypassed, for sure, even with like the extra stuff we were doing, we have bypassed learning about Active Directory. Now we're learning about Open LDAP. And that's not what I'm here to spend my time on. We're going to finish this thing just so we can see it through, but if I were doing this on my own, I will tell you straight up, I would skip it and move on. THM would rule the world if they put ID and QA into the modules. Never going to happen because it's all crowdsourced. TryHackMe is... they're not rent-seeking. What's the word I'm looking for? Freeloading. And again, they're just like, do this command with no explanation of what it's doing. I mean, you can kind of interpolate what it's doing. LDAP modify, external, the host is the local LDAP, and then slap restart. Okay. Keep doing sudo systemctl start /d service start /d. Old school service status all. Hey. Oh, service /d enable, right? And /d start. Yeah, there it is. Okay, now. Oh, that worked. Now we just have to restart. What? Authentication method not supported. Interesting. No anonymous minutes. That's so fascinating. So it's basically saying... Let's run this to see what's up. Oh no, this looks good. Okay, so we're good here. Do we have TCP dump in here? We're going to bring TCP dump in here as well. because then we're captured. We don't have to worry about interface. It's just absolutely the default interface. Gooey3, thank you for the follow. Sorry if I'm like moving around more than I usually do. I'm standing up now, which is a nice change. Okay, TCP dump. Oreo Bite redeemed Play Me a Song. That hasn't happened in a minute. All right. Tell you what, let me... Oh, we're doing this. Let's see if I can get this going first. Four wins. I haven't finished it, Husky. I know I'm supposed to. That's on me. I did just learn a new song today, though, which I can't believe I had never done before. But I'll ask this. So, I learned a new song, and I wrote a song. I will fair warning, the Rhoda song is a little dark. It's a little Bo Burnham-y. If we're in the mood for that, I'll happily do it. If not, we'll go for the song that I learned. What are we thinking? I like dark stuff. Do it. All right. All right, you were warned. Luckily, there are 2 redeems. Oh, Ginge did. All right. You get her was already sad. Yikes. Okay, let's see.
Okay, testing 1 2. How am I sounding? I forgot to turn on the camera 1 second. Okay. We'll start with the learned song. It's fast. There must be some kind of way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. There's too much confusion, I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine, plowmen dig my earth. None will ever loan the line, nobody offered his word. No reason to get excited, the thief he kindly spoke. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, we've been through that, and this is not our fate. So let us not talk falsely now, the hour is getting late. watchtower, princes kept the view, while all the women came and went, barefoot servants too. Outside in the cold distance, a wildcat did growl. Two riders were approaching, and the wind began to howl. Not quite Bear McCreary's version of it, but also not Dylan's or Hendrix's. All right. Here comes the dark one. This is called Pollyanna. Truth is running like water. I drink and I fall ill. Carve me like a canyon. I'll soon forget my name. Poison in the rainfall, it seeps into the ground. Storm on the horizon, I fear that I may drown. And I've gotta stop waiting on another hero. I've gotta take matters into my hands. Time's running out and I've lost all of my patience. I'm not waiting for your master plan. And this is my Pollyanna protest anthem. I wrote it 'cause I don't know what to say. Every day I wake up to another nightmare, and I don't think that is likely to change. The flood took my daughter. The plague took my son. I swore I wouldn't join them until my work is done. I climbed the lonely mountain to find my father's grave. I beg his forgiveness. I squandered what he gave. Well, now is the time for the righteous to be counted. Stand up to the tide of hate. Take my hand and we'll hold the line together. Grab your sword before it's too late. So this is my Pollyanna protest anthem. Do you wanna fight for some kind of change? Don't think too hard about the real systemic issues. Keep on marching as we go up in flames. children. They don't even exist. Emotional manipulation. I stick it in and then I twist. I want to take some action. I want to fix the world. But violent revolution never works the way it should. Well, I changed my Facebook profile picture, put a hashtag on my Twitter feed, and I'll march in a scheduled protest. And I'll leave when instructed by police. And this is my Pollyanna protest anthem. I don't have anything like real advice, so I'll make it sound like I'm doing something. It's easier than real sacrifice.
Well, you were warned. All right. Let's try this thing again. We got some data here. I should be saving this. TCP dump. Dang it. I need some refresh on the TCP dump syntax. It's one of those things where it's like, you don't do it all the time and you're going to lose it. Port. TCP dump. Port 389. And let's save that to LDAP.pcap. All right. One more time. Interestingly, that's not happening. Let's see. That's not how you spell Docker. Docker container ls. Yeah, 389 is getting forwarded. Are you using ETH0? As far as I know. No, it's in the Docker container. It's the Docker containers network interface that I was capturing on. But yeah, it's a good point. Let's just do it here. Let's do sudo speeddump I on 0 TCP port 389 LDAP.pcap. Yeah. All right. Still not getting anything. Is this thing up? Ooh. Yeah, it's up. Machines are still up, right? Yep, machines are still up. Where is my PCAP? It wants to do a slightly different TCP dump here. Come on, end. 1050 53.7. Yep, that's right. All right, one more time. Verbose output suppressed. 29 packets received by the filter. So we did get packets. Let's look at it. Can't be read. That's cool. It's what you want to see. Well, we're going to do it this way then. TryHackMe LDAP pass 1 at is it right here. TryHackMe LDAP pass 1 at. So we did eventually get it. That sucked. Woof. Yikes. Okay. Goodbye forever, open LDAP server. Okay, moving on. Authentication relays. This is going to be a little bit closer to stuff that I'm familiar with. And this may, in fact, involve responder. Ah, we have a password list, finally. Okay, so we're doing SMB. The server message block protocol allows clients like workstations to communicate with the server. Yes. SMB is the bane of defenders in a Windows network. And LLMNR ain't that great either. LLMNR at this point should be disabled. Is it going to explain what LLMNR is? No. So we're going to do it. So LLMNR predates NetBIOS. Server mistake block. Link local multicast name resolution. So, and this is the RFC for it. Wow. I love that the first result for LLMNR is a Black Hills article, which we should, in fact, read. Right. So, basically, if you ever watch the network traffic in a Windows environment for any amount of time, you're going to see crazy stuff happen between Windows hosts. And generally, that falls into a couple of different categories. Primarily, you're going to see NetBIOS traffic happen, right? And also, you're going to see maybe some RPC stuff at high-level TCP ports, which doesn't seem to make any sense, but that is something that Windows does. It reserves over like 50,000 TCP ports for arbitrary stuff that it needs to do. And then, if you're in an older environment, you will, or a less hardened environment, you will likely see link local multicache name resolution. What is this doing? So basically, this is a way for Windows machines to identify themselves by hostname without DNS. That's the basic idea. And there are a number of more modern ways to do that. NetBIOS is one of them, but there is also a non-Windowsy way of doing this, which is known as totally went out of my head. MDNS, right? MDNS, which if you put it into a more branded flavor, becomes Bonjour and Avahi. And if you've ever wondered, like, how your Apple products find themselves on your network, that's how. They're speaking MDNS to each other. And that is also what you would have to do in a network segmented environment to allow them to discover across segmented VLANs, things like that. You need to have MDNS, be able to bridge that gap. So the reason why this matters is, of course, LLMNR, for reasons surpassing understanding, will give away NTLM hashes. And that's why, if it's enabled in an environment, it is very, very appealing for attackers. So this is Black Hills teaching you how to disable LLMNR, and the attack we're about to perform is going to explain why we want to do it. So we're going to run responder, presumably. Yes. As we were doing before. Ah, and it gave us a password file. That's real handy. LLMNR poisoning is essentially the same thing. So in an environment, what you would do is LLMNR would respond with lies about what host is associated with what hostname, right? Think of it as like higher OSI layer ARP poisoning, right? Rather than responding with a wrong MAC address, you're responding with a wrong IP, basically. Now, what exactly is it having us do here? Are we doing the breach again? If so, we already have the password list.txt. Is it not LDAP hash? Oh, was it straight up NTLM? I don't know. It couldn't have been. But it didn't like something that I had in there. What didn't it like? I think it may have not liked the domain. Or actually this. It just wants the hash, right? It doesn't like that at all. So we're going to recapture that. And so we're doing we're doing a relay attack. And this is kind of important to understand. So remember that NTLM is a challenge and response protocol. Or NetNTLM is a challenge and response protocol. And so with a relay, basically, we're able to take the response from one thing and use it elsewhere. So here our diagram says user sends NTLM negotiate. This is right. User sends NTLM negotiate with attacker intercepts with poisoning. So we poison it. There's your LLM in our poisoning killer. The attacker forwards the NTLM challenge to the user. So hey, give me your thing. The user sends the challenge response. The attacker says whatever. But then keep in mind at the same time, so after negotiate, we forward the NTLM authenticate to the service that we want to access. And then we get the NTLM challenge with the hash. And then you have to provide the password in order to match. The response goes forward, grants access, and we're good. So basically, the NTLM hash is used as the challenge, and then the password is essentially used to match it. So what is the name of the tool we're going to use? Responder. What is the username associated with the challenge that was captured? Does this one only work if you're on the attack box? If you want to try the type of attack in action, head over to the Holo Network. That sucks. That only has the attack box available. I'm running Responder, man. I'm running Responder. Are you saying that it should be picking something up? We did the printer. What's the username associated with the challenge that was captured? Ah, it says leave responder running for a bit. Get some fresh air. You should reach an SMB2 connection. Do we just wait? I don't love that, but okay. That is, in fact, how it would go, though. All right, just wait to see something happen. Okay. Now, this is new to me. Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. Large organizations need to deploy and manage the infrastructure of the estate. In massive organizations, you can't have your IT personnel using DVDs or even USB flash drives running around installing software on every machine. No, you can't. Luckily, Microsoft already provides the tools required to manage the estate. That is a weird use of the term estate, I think, but okay. Right, MDT and SCCM. Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. Service that assists with automated deployment of Microsoft operating systems. In Apple world, this used to be known as NetBoot, and I miss it a lot. I thought it was really cool. And Deploy Studio for the open source usage of NetBoot. SCCM can be seen. And so SCCM, Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager. We talked a little bit about this on Saturday, and that this is becoming a little bit legacy. That config is moving to either Intune or to Endpoint Manager in the cloud. And if you use Endpoint Manager, which unifies Intune and SCCM, you get some really nice benefits, like auto patch as of Friday for E3 and E5 customers. The reason that matters, right, is that imagine you had the ability to automatically deploy security updates to your endpoints. That's why I think auto patch is cool. Right, so MDT handles the deployment, like the imaging of new assets, and then SCCM is your provisioner after they're deployed. So that's how you can update software, install packages. That's SCCM. And we're going to focus on Pixie. So Pixie, pre-boot execution environment, this is basically a way in which, if you're not familiar with this level of sysadmin, this is a way to boot an operating system over the network, which is what you do if your brand new machine doesn't have an operating system installed and you want to install it from a known source, a known image, like your organization's golden image for your deployments. That's how this happens. And over TFTP. We can exploit Pixie for two different purposes. One, inject a privileged escalation vector, such as a local admin account, to gain administrative... Oh! I see. So that's wild. They're saying basically host a Pixie server and use it to like deploy to an endpoint? Is that right? Perform password scraping attacks to recover AD credentials during the install. Oh, okay. That's not what we're doing. We're doing the password scraping. It's like, that's wild. If you were to basically root the golden by impersonating the Pixie server, that would be a tricky thing to do. Since DHCP is a bit finicky, we will bypass the initial step of this attack. We'll skip to the part where we attempt to request an IP, and the Pixie boot pre-configured details from the DHCP. The first piece of information regarding Pixie boot pre-configure you would have received via DHCP is the IP of the MDT server. In our case, you can receive that from the diagram. And to dive into that just a little bit, DHCP options are how that information is provided to you as a DHCP client. Okay? That's very funny. You want to do Pixie boot, don't use DHCP options. Well, but that's what you do. Yeah. So option 66 should be the boot server hostname. And so if you're capturing the raw DHCP data as it comes in, you'll see that information and be able to do something with it. Okay, let's go to pixieboot.za. Web.config. Hey. All right, what are we doing with this? It will list various BCD files. Usually you would use TFTP to request each of these BCD files and enumerate the configuration for all of them. However, in the interest of time, we will focus on the BCD file of the x64 architecture. EFI or not? x64. Hey, Tarski, thank you so much for the follow. And Poor Boy before that. All right, x64 it is. Boy, this is making a lot of assumptions. We're SSHing into a jump box. Oh, hey, there's our hash. Let's grab that real quick. I want to crack a password hash tonight. That's working. All right, we'll let Hashcat do its thing. Meanwhile, we're going to back over here. So we're SSHing to the jump box. La magie de la vie. So if this is a TryHackMe, can I try directly hacking your mind instead of your computer? I'm a magician social engineer, and I'm working out new ways to have it work over the internet. I'm sure that you could probably have me pay attention to something while you do something else. The art of misdirection, I think, can be applied remotely. I have a student, an old student of mine who is like, he was a prodigious computer programmer and has now kind of become like this master magician who performs at like the Magic Castle here in LA and stuff. It's kind of cool to see. That's a neat discipline. I was into that when I was a kid for a hot second. Hey, we cracked the password. F password 1. Thank you, Hashcat. Let's just close that out. One question that sometimes comes up, I'll just mention this. I'm going to do this not in Cali. One question that sometimes comes up is, okay, password cracking, but how do you do it, like, on a real engagement? And so some answers to that, first of all, is that you're going to need more than just RockU as a password list to make it happen. That's kind of part one. You're also going to need to probably use mutation rules, like one rule to rule them all. So you can pass a gigantic password list to Hashcat with a mutation rule, like one rule to rule them all, which will make your possibility space even larger. And then finally, the other answer really is access to GPUs, right? You need to have sufficient computing horsepower to like CUDA horsepower to make this work. And that's kind of like Hashcat runs pretty slowly in Kali because it's not using a real GPU. And even on my machine, right? If I were to run it natively, and I have configured Hashcat on my machine to use the CUDA core on my GPU, it's 1, right? So it's not as fast as it could be. There is a budget way of doing this, though. There's a budget way of getting temporary massive power. And I'm not talking about spinning up AWS like metal instances or something like that. Enumerating password policy can absolutely help limiting your possibility space. That's absolutely true. Yeah, don't use CrackStation on engagement. I don't think that's what OreoByte was saying. I think OreoByte was saying, like, build a cracking rig for your team. But yes, don't use crackstation.net on engagements. That's a bad idea. Don't put those hashes out into the wild for other people. But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to call out, and this is kind of a cool thing, is, I don't know if you knew this, but Google has this thing called Collaboratory. Google Collaboratory is a Jupyter Notebook hosting service that is offered for free, okay? But here's the other thing that is interesting about Collaboratory. So you can run Python code in it, right? But because it's a Jupyter Notebook, you can also run shell commands on the underlying OS. But here's the other thing that's cool about Collaboratory. Because it's for data science and machine learning, it has GPUs available. So some brave soul actually went and wrote this thing called CollabCat that is designed to help you run Hashcat on Google Collaboratory. You fire this right up, and all of a sudden you now have a not insignificant amount of GPU performance for you to use, and CUDA available for you to use against your password cracking. And it even has like the steps to install and deploy Hashcat from source with CUDA so that you're actually going to use this thing the right way. There's a crypto that is doing a GPU farm for graphics rendering. Wonder if that would be an option. Maybe, but we're not going to support any cryptocurrency here on this channel. So as you can see, Hashcat is available once this thing is all sorted. And you can load hashes however you want. This notebook is designed to connect to a Google Drive, but you can upload it however you want. You use wget if you wanted to download stuff to the host. And that's kind of it. I have used this successfully if I've needed a little bit more password cracking power than I have at my disposal. So I just wanted to call that out. CollabCat is an option if you needed to. Okay. How secure is it? It's your instance. It's going to share some kind of space with other people using Google's data centers. It's about as secure as everything else in Google's cloud, I would say. All right, so now that we've SSH to this thing, what are we supposed to do? To ensure that all users of the network can use SSH, start by creating a folder with your usernames and copying the PowerPXE repo. Here you go, bro. The system cannot find the path specified. Power Pixie. Oh, no. Sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that you've got the Rona. There we go. Boy, I am so far one of the last folks standing. I'm really hoping that survives the week. Just knock on my nice mahogany desk. There's Power Pixie. Oh, you go drink with J-Ross. Oh, I see how it is. I see how it is. You'll hang out with J-Roz while you're in town, but not me. Oh, it was the other way. He was in the Bay Area. All right. All right. God, again with this. Download our BCD file to read the configuration. So what do they want us to do here? 10.255.202. No need for an AMC bypass for the PowerShell script. No, well, we're not doing anything that looks specifically malicious here. And we're getting... Hey, Nico. Thank you for the follow, and Tokyo Talk as well. Probably would help if I spelled TFTP correctly. Look at that. Okay, so we got the BCD file. This is totally new to me. I've never done this before. We'll now use Power Pixie to read its contents. Right, so we'll do PowerShell, EP bypass, and then import module, Power Pixie. Okay. And then, what can we do? BCD file equals conf.bcd. Okay. Get WIM file. Oh, it's a WIM file. BCD file. Oh, no, we're making that, I think. BCD file. Yeah, okay, we're making the WIM file. All right, that. WIM files are bootable images in the Windows imaging format. Now that we have the location of the Pixie boot image, we can again use TFTP to download this image. Getting Pixie boot image location. Ah, I see. So it gave us the boot location here. And that's what we're going to grab. Interesting. Hey, Red Teamers, how often do you do this one? All right, that's downloading. It's going to take a second. And then get find credentials, wim file, pixieboot.wim. I should have stayed in PowerShell. That's fine. When Al did it, he said it was the first time he's done it. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's wild. Where you're compromising a Pixie boot server, is really interesting. Is TFTP just, like, available? No. I was like, that seems unlikely. Alright, that's still downloading. And then get find credentials. And then that's it. That's wild. Because there's going to be... Yeah, there's going to be, like, all the auto unattend stuff, right? That you would have... Very similar to what we were doing actually in Packer, right? Rather than just having the XML, though, they're creating a whole WIM that has that answers file. So... it's going to have credentials in it. That is snazzy. I'm guessing the mitigation for this type of attack is to make sure the service account has the least amount of privileges. So I actually think there was another thing that we accidentally saw. That may be the answer, which is... Oh, I'll also say this. NAC is the real solution here. Because don't allow DHCP to give out IP addresses and other data to strange devices. That's part of it. That'll solve the Dropbox problem. And then in terms of presence on the device, you know, unprivileged, you're not going to be doing packet captures to pick up new DHCP leases anyway. And actually, DHCP leases, that'll be a DHCP renew. I am not 100% certain that DHCP renews will have the DHCP options in them. Maybe they will. So those strange devices are trying to be imaged. That should really happen in a pretty controlled methodology, whether it's a VLAN that you're controlling heavily, even a location physically that you're controlling heavily, right? For example, you know, you have the... You can even, I mean, you can do it remotely. I've seen places where, like, they'll take a specific switch port and move it over to the imaging VLAN, so that somebody can plug a machine in and get it imaged remotely, and then switch it back when it's done. Configure the routers to forward the client request to the Pixie server, just like you do with the DHCP server. That's way worse. Then I wouldn't even have to find that information. If I'm reading this correctly, the solution here would actually make it easier to do this particular kind of attack. Oh, hey, we got it. Okay, so let's get back into PowerShell. And now we're gonna get find credentials. It's really unsettling to see this PowerShell stuff happen in my Kali terminal. Hey, Darker Berry, thank you for the follow. Bitvader, thank you for the follow. Would you look at that? Boy, oh boy. That is super interesting. Yeah, hey, Technique. Fish shell indeed. Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. That's the answer here. What network protocol is used for recovery files from MDT? Is TFTP. I can't believe I did the same thing again. What username is associated with the account that was stored in the Pixie boot image? It was SVC MDT. Okay, not that original. That is cool. That one was new to me. I may have some work to do tomorrow. That's really interesting. Yeah, so let's talk, a little bit about mitigations for that. I think NAC is a huge one. I think imaging VLAN is another one. Yeah, to me, it's coming down to network segmentation and access control, just because the DHCP server is supposed to be giving out the DHCP options, and the article we just saw was like, no, make the router send all PXE requests directly to the same server. That's a dumb idea. I really don't think that's a good idea at all, especially if you have multiple Pixie servers for different reasons. I don't love that. No, I think that this is going to be certain VLANs only can access your Pixie boot server. Quick aside, by the way. Hey, Darkerberry. Nope, we have YouTube. Okay, quick aside. The way that this used to work in Mac land was with a tool called Deploy Studio. And I still miss it. It is now over. Deploy Studio no longer works. And so basically the way that you would work with Deploy Studio was you would set up a Mac server to run a netboot set. That's what it was called. A netboot set with Deploy Studio, and it essentially would provide a network bootable OS for Macs, and you would boot up your Mac, connect it to... I used to have like massive switches that I would like set up in rooms to do re-imaging over the summer for my student laptops, right? And so I would have like a 48 port switch or whatever, and I would connect all of them manually. So you can do it over Wi-Fi, but it was like a huge pain to do. So I would have wires and like Thunderbolt adapters when we got to that point in Mac OS hardware, and hold Command N to do network boot, and then it would go find the network boot set, and then you could like image things from there using Deploy Studio, run arbitrary scripts and whatever. And that is how we used to have to image Mac OS machines. You might ask, well, how do you do it today? You kind of don't. And the reason why Deploy Studio stopped working was because of APFS. APFS prevented the disk image in that way because of the way that it does snapshotting and volumes and things like that. You can't just like clone a disk that way. It doesn't really work. Also a huge pain, by the way, for forensics. Just going to point that out there. In terms of dealing with Mac OS machines. So if you want to image Macs these days, what do? The answer is, again, you kind of don't. You can use, what is it called? There's a thing like... Yeah, the Mac deploy stick from Two Canoes. Which does this, sort of. But it is wild how this works. So this is a USB stick that you build that has a bootable provisioner. So that doesn't scale super well, right? You need to have one of these per machine that you're trying to image at the same time. And yes, I bought like 30 of these. I bought 30 flash drives and to do my imaging. And just basically got like student interns to run it. What else was I going to do? But this doesn't really scale anymore, and that's not really what you do. Instead, you take the Mac OS machine as you get it out of the box, and then you use a tool like Jamf to configure it post-provisioning. That is kind of how, and there's some Apple tools to do it as well, like MDM profiles. And that is what you're supposed to do to provision your Macs. There's no disk imaging or anything like that anymore. Would this attack also work with imaging disks? Like, if an attacker swipes a disk from the IT office, can they pull the username and password? Yeah. If you got the physical golden, or if you got the ISO, you would absolutely be able to see it. But that's kind of not what MDT does, right? MDT will take your golden and develop this BCD file and the answer file from it. So it works a little bit differently. Do I actually have... I thought I installed... the deployment toolkit on this machine. Maybe I uninstalled it for some reason. Yeah. Oh, I have the system image manager. That's a different thing. Okay, config files. Let's see if we can end this thing up. Yeah, music's good tonight, right? I'm using a different channel on Night Ride. This is the Dark Synth channel. And I'm feeling it. McAfee site list password encryption.zip. Okay. The last enumeration avenue we will explore in this network is config files. Suppose you were lucky enough to cause a breach that gave you access to a host on the organization's network. That's not luck, that's skill. In that case, configuration files are an excellent avenue to explore in an attempt to recover 80 credentials. Yeah, generally speaking. I could tell some stories about medical devices. Depending on the host that was breached, various config files may be of value from enumeration. Web app config files, yeah. Service config files, registry keys, Sentry deployed applications. Yes, and seatbelt can be used to automate this. We'll focus on recovering credentials from... I'll tell you that a huge part of my job these days is like reading vendor documentation on medical devices. And it's... Well, I'm not worried about job security. We'll say that. McAfee embeds the credentials used during installation to connect back to the orchestrator in a file called ma.db. This database file can be retrieved and read with local access. Oh, okay. Kill this. There's just a Python script The MADB file stored in a fixed location. We can use SCP to copy to our attack box. Ooh, this is just saying, like, you might have to use the attack box. I don't like that at all. It uses Python 2 and relies on an old crypto library. Oh, we should be back on the jump, actually. Looks like. Yep, we should be back on the jump box for this. You didn't get this to work? Yeah. Well, Docker might actually come to the rescue on this one too. Because if I can get a Python 2 Docker image if I need to. I think. I was reading a lot of Alaris Smart Pump. It seems like documentation at the beginning of the year. Oh man. Kovacs came out every one of their fridges to have smart thermometers and feed that data back to the state. Yeah. I mean, I remember the debate too about Bluetooth-based contact tracing. I don't think that really went anywhere. It was because it was supposed to be like the original concept was very like beacon, almost like iBeacons back in the day. That was kind of how it was thought of. But what ended up happening was opt-in contact tracing, where like if everybody has the app, you'll get notified, right? But that's not the same thing. It's not nearly as effective. But then it's also not a surveillance state, so what are you going to do? What's up? Is this literally just configuration files? Get out of here. Okay, so what are we supposed to do here? Okay. There's ma.db. Okay. Okay. Password 1@. No. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there we go. I just mistyped it. Okay. So we have the ma.db. Great news so far. No module named crypto.cipher. We do pip install crypto. Yeah, I don't love it. This is saying Python 3. All right, let's take a look at this thing. That was where I was going next. Using 2 to 3 on it. Oh, is it -W for right? There's no way we don't have crypto here. I could be using a hard-coded key. Yeah, seriously. Let's play around with this a second. Import crypto. What do we have? No. Somebody remind me how to do the... like, print all functions in a module. It's dir. Of course it is. Dir crypto. And crypto... unhelpful. Yeah, there we go. So, what are we looking at here? Crypto.cipher. What do we have? Doesn't have that. It does have hash. Crypto.hash. Hmm. No, those are built-ins. Never mind. What's this thing have? Like nothing. The capital C does matter, but there is no such thing. If we try import crypto. Yeah. Oh, because it's not, it's a different library name. Pip install. It's PyCryptoDome. I remember running into this problem before. String object has no attribute decode. Yeah. Seems like it's gonna... This is something that you often run into when you're doing 2 to 3 conversions, where... you have to... Hex is not a text encoding, use codecs to decode. Why would we decode it as hex? Do we not just want it as bytes? Wait, did that just work? One thing that, yeah, you'll often find when you're doing a 2 to 3 conversion is strings to byte strings. Oh no, it says that's the usage, but it ran. Oh, so we have the database. Right, okay, so we have the database. And so... Right. We'll do SQLite 3 ma.db. And look at the schema. Agent logs, agent repositories, agent parents. And ma data channel. Agent repositories is what we want. So select from agent repositories. Nice. Okay, so there's the McAfee. And then there's the SVC AV. And there's the password. And then, so we'll do Python 3 with that. All right, new errors. So, or expected string of length 1, but int found. Right. So, line 22. Ord C. I'm pretty sure that I can just remove the ords. Because they're already integers. Line 26. I love when we move down. So what's the problem now? Can cat string to bytes? Yes, 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 yes. Yep. Line 77. IV is not meaningful in the ECB mode. Crap. Line 28. It's des. The initialization vector is not meaningful for the ECB mode. So, do I just not do that? Do I just not give it that argument? Object class stir cannot be passed to C code. Des.decrypt data. The data is data dot encode. Oh, for the love of God. 129. Yeah. Data must be aligned. To block boundary in ECB mode. Is this padding giving us a problem? No, it is not. That needs to be there. Data must be aligned to block boundary in ECB mode. We're so close. Data must be aligned to block boundary in ECB mode. That is an interesting error. We're going to get this. We're going to get this. The moment I get to crypto stuff, I dip. Boy, I know that feeling. I've been trying to further my Chromium research, right? Into how I want to know how to load Chrome extensions without that load extension indicator. And it is difficult. And the reason it's difficult is because Chromium browsers are constantly verifying their data with this really complicated hashing scheme. And so I've been reading Chromium source code and how it does like block hashes of its contents. And what's super annoying is that it caches the values in memory. So the problem is, even if you, because each extension has like 2 files that have to match, but it actually, sorry, it doesn't cache it in memory. What it does is if it has any reason to believe that it needs to recompute the hashes, it goes to the web store. It does a network request and does a formal request for the master hashes. And if they don't match, then it disables the extension anyway. So at the point where you could break that, you're talking about, you know, modifying Etsy hosts or something like that, which you would already have the permissions on the system that you want. For padding and unpadding, you may use... here we go. Crypto util padding, import pad and unpad. Okay. Did we do that in here? Oh, wait, it says ignore padding. Okay. Now, how does this work? Crypto It's just pad. What's the des block size? Is it des or triple des? It's triple des. So I actually need the des 3 block size. 8 bytes. Okay. So we're gonna try crypto. I'm gonna try pad data.encode 8. This may in fact be a disaster. 64. Is it bits? I don't know what the pad value is. It's a good question. 32. No, it's bytes. Yeah, it says in this, it says it's bytes. So we'll call it bytes. Oh, yeah. No, this is good. This is good. We're down to line 32. Hey, Octomani. We're down to line 32. Return decrypted. Argument should be integer or bytes like object, not string. Decode. Oh, no. The problem is in the x.find. Should be bytes like object or string. So, like so. Oh! Okay, so when we get to the decrypted password, .encode. Thank you very much. Damn it. Every time. Every time. Decode. You know what? We got it. Do a little manual here. Yeah, is there something I can do to make decode errors decode errors equals ignore. All right, so that's not like awesome. We did get something. It's kind of garbage. What is it? Agent repositories, right? What was the username of the AD account? That was a million things ago. SVC AV. So we're padding this thing with 8. Okay, so we definitely need that padding. We pad it again, though. So the problem just is that we're getting garbage. Right? It's not helpful. It's even messing with our terminal in other ways. I say we don't ignore padding. That didn't help at all. There's somebody at D-meter house. Hey, no problem. This is the hard-coded triple desk key. That's interesting. So the thing really that we changed was padding. So let's see just a couple of examples here. And this is, are we in ECB mode? We are. Perfect. Okay. Can't help but notice that it's 8 here. Oh, it should be the length of the data mod 8. Which makes sense. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna call it. Yeah, Killer, maybe get some sleep? Just a thought? Oh, didn't like that. Yeah, okay. I think we're calling it a day for that one. That is a weird, tough one to make happen. Although... worth a shot. Okay. One question away. That's gonna kill me. I am curious. How do you... Let's check our write-up. There are no write-ups submitted for this. Okay. So, just is what it is. Well then, friends, I think we're going to call it a night. It's been a long stream. Thanks so much for hanging out. I hope you learned something. I know I definitely did. I will be back tomorrow doing some programming. A little bit more back in the comfort zone. I'm not sure what we'll be doing. Maybe we'll be doing some Rust. Maybe we'll be doing some... maybe we'll do some more stuff with Crux. Do some Chrome extension hacking. We'll see what's up. But that'll be Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. And until next time, let's see. Black Sheep Spicy is streaming, so we'll give him a raid. Until next time, friends, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see ya.